Hey guys, welcome to the Investor's Guide of Memphis Real Estate. I'm Dean Harris, and as always, I'm with Douglas Skipworth. How are you, buddy?
Hey man, doing great.
We're bringing you this podcast to give you the boots on the ground knowledge to be a successful real estate investor here in Memphis, Tennessee. Please like and subscribe to all of our channels and pages, Investor's Guide on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Facebook, wherever you catch your podcasts. Show sponsors are listed on the screen below. We could not do this show without them. That's Triumph Construction, River City Title, Corland Financial, CrestCore Property Management, and Will Griffin with Griffin, Clift, Everton, and Mashmeyer. I help buyers and sellers every day. Dean@CrestCore.com is my email. If you would like to get on our buyers list, we fill you out a buyer profile link. We've talked about that on here before. Dean@CrestCore.com. If you have anything to sell, Dean@CrestCore.com. Hey man.
Hey.
How you doing?
Great.
Yeah. So today we're gonna dive right into off-market properties versus MLS listed properties.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. I'm a buyer.
Yeah, I'm a buyer. You've heard, if you've bought deals, you've heard, or if you haven't, you've likely heard of the phrase and the acronym, the MLS. It's a multiple listing service or system, depending on what area and what they want to call it. All real estate agents typically join their board and they're part of this MLS system. Can you have a real estate license and not be on the MLS or have access? Yes. Shame on you. I don't know how in the world you're operating, but you might need it for something else. That's not necessarily
It's
sales
not like
related. So you
the
don't.
king of transactions or you're doing private stuff.
That's right. So all in all, most agents are a part of that MLS in their local board. They go on this system and they can look up.
They're realtors.
They're realtors, and they can go on and look up houses and comps and everything they want to do to help you be an agent for you. Okay. That's where we find half. I'd say 50%.
Of the houses you send out, or that people are purchasing, buyers are purchasing?
Of the horses. Man, some of these are horses.
Yeah.
Of the houses that I source, 50% are off market from off market sources and details and all of that.
So the ones you're sending out.
Yep. And the other 50% we're sending out are coming from the MLS.
How about the ones that people end up purchasing? Is that end up about the same?
About the same.
Yeah.
You know, maybe 1 month we'll have a variation
That's
or two,
true.
but overall at the end of the year, it might vary 10%.
Right.
Maybe a 60-40 one way or the other.
One way or the other.
But for the most part,
essentially half and half.
That's right.
On what your clients are buying.
That's right. And now, to talk about how some of that. So I think, everybody's familiar with this and the process with it. If you buy from the MLS, you're buying from an agent. So you've got an agent that has to abide by code of ethics.
Okay.
They've got a fiduciary responsibility to you as their client. Let's see, code of ethics. There's a moral, compass here that you've got to work by.
Oh yeah.
You cannot misrepresent and lie and just kind of float your way through it. You can't. No. Okay. That's the safe way to go most of the time.
Yeah.
You feel like if you're in one of those systems with another agent that you're going to be kind of taken care of, right? You assume.
Yeah.
The other way is the off market, wholesalers and insurance agents. Who else? There's a ton.
There's off. Well, yeah. I mean, I think off market. I mean, goodness. I got a list of it's who. When you're looking for a property, all you care about is who's the owner or decision maker that can sell that property, and how can I get to that person?
Mm-hmm. That's exactly right.
How can I get to that person? Well, the majority of the sellers are using agents.
That's right.
And they're going to list it on the MLS.
That's
but right. Of all the owners out there, there's another set that aren't going to use the MLS, or they don't have properties for sale.
That's right. That's right.
So to your point, it can be just an owner of the house, but then you got influencers, advisors who can speak to that owner, like bankers. You mentioned insurance agents, closing attorneys that know them, other types of attorneys that work with them.
Yep.
So
tons of ways that you can go and try to dig and find something off market.
Absolutely.
It's wild to think.
Absolutely.
Because when I explain that to some people, they're like, what is that? They have a lot of times they just don't have any idea what that means. Because most of the time the MLS is affiliated with selling houses and listing houses. And that's just what people kind of associate with. You have no idea there's a complete total other behind the curtains place to buy tons of real estate.
Most real estate is not for sale.
Right.
But then there's also the school of thought, like everything's for sale at the right price. But I don't have the MLS stats in front of me. I think it's roughly 3,000-ish houses that are in the MLS right now.
That's right. I think I looked the other, it's 33 something.
Okay. Guess how many parcels there are in residential parcels are in Shelby County?
Go ahead.
300,000.
Yeah,
so that's 1%. So 1% are actively for sale on the MLS.
Yeah.
Now there's some others that are actively for sale that aren't on the MLS. People are willing to sell. And then there's a whole lot that aren't actively or in their mind for sale that potentially could be for sale if you cold called them or if you send them a mailer or if.
How many do you think's for sale? This is just off topic here, but how many of the 300,000 parcels we got 1% listed on our MLS? What market share? Like, what do you think people could go buy? You think another 2% would be available
at the right price?
Right.
Yeah.
And then another 2% could maybe be talked into it. So your best case scenario is that 7% of the total proproperties are on market.
Maybe.
That would be available.
Yeah. But to your point, if it's only 1% that's on the MLS and there's 5, 6, 7%, I mean, that's quadruple, quintuple that are available to you if you know how to work the off-market channels, which you do. Because you're saying winner, chicken dinner right there. I mean, that's what you do. You work with wholesalers. You've got bankers
all day,
and you've got a reputation. And we can get in this later. But you're like, why do people sell off market? Let's come back to that when we're talking about off market. I'll tell you why. But one thing that, just to speak to MLS, listing on the MLS as a seller is a great thing.
I agree.
Because it blasts out. I mean, you syndicate, you put it in the MLS, you got all the real estate agents who are monitoring that MLS all day, every day. And then it sends out to realtor.com, homes.com, Zillow.com. I mean, it just blasts it out.
You are dead on with that.
Yes.
Under no circumstances is it better to sell off market versus on the MLS with an agent. Even though you're paying real estate commission, it does not matter. You're not getting the quality of offer off market that you're going to get on the MLS.
And now there are reasons people sell off market, and we'll talk about those. That's a story I've got to tell. But it's so funny, man. The timing of these topics is crazy because I just saw a stat on Friday that said Zillow did a research study, and they found that if you don't you lose $5,000 on your sale price if you don't list on the MLS. Really? As a seller, if I don't put it on the MLS, you're going to get $5,000 less on your sales price.
That's an average.
That's an average from Zillow. The sellers typically lost over 3% of their home's value. It said private listing networks limit buyer competition, leading to lower sales prices.
So,
which makes sense.
Which makes sense. You know, it's like, why would you not broadcast your property to a bigger audience? Like,
if you want to get the best price.
If you want to get the best price and you have time, like,
and you have time, we're going to talk about that. There you go.
But if you want your best price, and I'll also throw this in there because you just have to. If you want the cleanest process, if you want an above board, straightforward process, you'll work with an agent. Not all agents are, do everything the right way, but majority of them do. And wholesalers, I have found, majority don't, and a few do. It's the reverse. It's the reverse. But and agents, majority do right, few do wrong. Wholesalers, majority of them aren't running the right business the right way, and then a small portion of them are.
That's right.
So what I have mastered in my mind, and I'm very rarely say that, but working with the wholesaler and understanding what they're looking for.
Yes.
And then working with my buyers and understanding what they have to have.
Yep.
Which are two different things. You notice I didn't use the same phrase.
Yes.
The wholesalers are looking for something. My buyers have got to have something. So to bridge that gap with those guys, I've worked for years. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of wholesale transactions.
Oh yeah.
And a far reach in our community with those guys and respect what they do and the hustle that they have. But I don't recommend as a consumer, you just go directly to them.
It helps to have some.
It helps to have somewhere in the middle, and I'm here to tell you that I think you should do that. So yes, MLS Properties in a whole to kind of before we hit into these off markets, they're going to get you more money. You just shown a stat from everyone's favorite
everyone
Zillow,
knows it. Yeah,
that 3% is usually lost by not using a real estate agent. So you have a code of ethics and a straightforward process. So there's the MLS, and there's where we source about half our deals.
Yes.
Wholesale, off market. Let's dive into that. I could probably talk about this for an hour. Wholesalers, I want to walk through that process real quick.
Okay, let's do it.
And I'll be fairly quick with it, but I want to walk through it. You call me, we're in touch. You're a buyer on my team. You're looking for a home in Raleigh. Okay. I'm working with a whole pool of wholesalers. I let them all know that we're looking for a certain property. A couple of them will send me some options. I'm going to vet those options, go through them myself, pull comps, talk to the wholesaler, find out pricing and pictures and seeing what they get. Because see, you don't get this on the MLS. There's no market advertisement where they can post everything. Mm-hmm. Some wholesalers are better and they have a website or they have something, but most don't. So I have to gather all of that information and bring all of that in, figure out if it's legit or not. Believe me, I've gotten different pictures for a house that's not the house. I mean, and they're saying that it is. So I've had to vet different things like that and make sure that when I send it to you, from the best of my knowledge, this information is legit. Okay. I'm going to send that house to you. You're going to say, hey, let's write an offer. We're going to write up an offer. We're going to get it to this wholesaler. The wholesaler has got a contract with the seller in place to purchase the home. Little does the seller usually know that the wholesaler has no intent to close on the home. Right. Their main purpose 95% of the time is to assign that piece of paper to you guys. So they're going to get it under contract for $50,000. They're going to come and bring it to me for $60,000. We're going to do some homework and figure out it needs some work. We've decided we want to buy this property. So now we're going to accept this contract. You're going to pay CrestCore Realty, a real estate commission, a smaller one than this. You're going to pay the $10,000 to this guy because he's assigning this contract to you for that $10,000. So you're now going to be all in for a little over $60,000. You're going to go to complete your rehab. We're going to close it all at the same time. We're going to have our attorneys at River City Title and Will Griffin know exactly how to close a wholesale deal. So they'll be able to walk you right through there. We'll get that property closed the same way. The wholesaler will receive his fee at the time of closing. The seller will receive their contract amount at the time of closing, and you will have purchased a home for the little over $60,000. Then we run on the same process. Rehab. If you're burned, we'll rehab it and just continue on. Yes. So that's working with a wholesaler, and there's 100 different ways that can go wrong.
Yes.
There's a whole lot of opportunities for misrepresentation in there from either the seller or the wholesaler, right? You also don't know who the seller is. You haven't vetted them and talked to them. You haven't been in their home yet. So there's a whole lot of that process that I have to kind of vet and go through. Yeah. So that's the wholesaler process and off market. When people refer to off market, that's usually what they go through.
That's exactly and I think about that and I'm like, well, man, that sounds great. Why would anybody ever, it sounds so great for the buyer. Why would anybody ever do that? And if you just said that you lose money on not putting on the MLS, like why is anybody, like how off market sounds great as me as a buyer. Like I'm sure you're listening there thinking, this sounds too good to be true. Yeah. Why would anybody ever sell that house for so cheap? And I'll tell you why. Yeah. Somebody, I had a cousin, my wife's cousin the other day said, hey, text me. Hey, I've got a friend that's mother is needing to move out of her house into a nursing home, whatever facility, and they need to sell the house quick. Can you help them? And I was like, sure, man, this is what we do. And so, of course, my first thought is, hey, let me introduce them to Dean and the team and get it listed. And they said, hey, appreciate Dean and the team, but we got to sell this today. And we don't want to make any repairs. We don't want, and here was the real thing. Mom has increased in age. Yeah. She hasn't taken care of the property. Mm-hmm. We're a little embarrassed about how it looks because A, mom's living like that. B, we maybe let her to get to that scenario. Okay. So we don't want to broadcast. We don't want to fix it up.
But we don't want pictures all over the internet.
We don't want everybody to know, is there somebody who would just come in and buy this from us and we could get some cash and just be done? Yeah. And I was like, hear you. Let me introduce you to my wholesaler friend. Wholesaler comes in there. They work a deal. The buyer could not be more excited. Excuse me. The seller could not be more excited that we got mom out quick. Nobody had to know. We got a fair price. We got cash. We're done. Wholesaler then it sends it to you. You send it out to your team. Your team sends it out, and you buyer, get to buy it. So that happens all day, every day.
That's right.
With people in situations. Sometimes that mom died.
That's right.
And the kids inherit the house, and there are 3 kids that own it. One of them wants to list it and take the time and fix it up and flip it. And the other 2 are like, I want my money today.
And for whatever the reason may be. Sometimes they're not as wholesome as that.
Correct.
Correct. I need it because whatever the reason, I got to pay something.
But, so my whole point in sharing that is that it sounds too good to be true because it is too good to be true a lot of the time, because there's a scenario that most people don't find themselves in.
That's right.
But occasionally life happens and people need to get rid of houses quick, and that's what wholesalers come in there and do.
That's right. Another popular one that we see, this is great because none of this is on the notes. That's why I love this.
Yeah.
Another popular one we see is where it's an inherited property.
Yes.
Kids are old, mom and dad have passed, or they have rental properties and they passed, and the kids are out of state and they're not in the real estate business and they don't want it. So, a wholesaler can give me quick cash. They're not in great shape. They didn't take great care of them. Wholesaler comes in, gives them a cash price that's good for them, goes and markets the home and moves them. There's a lot of these scenarios, way more, that are helping people out.
In my experience, the seller of that house to the wholesaler is thrilled.
Yes, because they don't have to go through any of the process with me and listing it, and it's public. You're right. I imagine that public part of that hits way more often than we even know. And then they bring it up. This might have been somebody you knew.
Yes, it's somebody
that felt comfortable telling you that. There's probably so many of these that we don't know because they're not comfortable saying that. Maybe they are embarrassed. They just want, hey, this is terrible. It's worth $100. It needs $40,000 in rehab. You'll give me $25? I'm out of here. And in all honesty, it's not a bad thing to get out of there. It's like, you're going to do the rehab on one house? No, you don't care. You just want to move. There's the wholesale process. There's and you as the end consumer are getting a home at a discount. You're getting a home you can probably burr. You're getting a home that's been vetted through me and my team and the entire process. So I don't want anybody to feel like, because I've heard some people say, isn't that difficult to get through?
That's right.
No, I'm emphatically no. Wholesaling for us and my team and our buyers is easy.
Yeah.
We go through there and have done this so many times that conversation that you had, we have with the wholesaler and figure out what is best. We've even waited to close. Hey, I have to move out of here. I got to find a house, but I can't, this one's in bad shape. You need 60 days to close, ma'am. We're moving, or sir, you're moving. Yeah. So whatever, the flexibility is there too, right?
Yes.
So off market to me has been a really good source for me personally.
Yeah. Hey, let me tell you, and with that, I forgot one of the things that made the seller so happy with the wholesaler is can y'all clean the house out? Like, can we leave all the junk? Can we leave mom's junk in the garage and in the attic and in the backyard and in the house? Sure.
Nobody cares.
Sure. Nobody cares. It doesn't matter. But again, to get that on the MLS, they have to get all that stuff out. I mean, it's just just a hassle. So,
because you can't list a house on the MLS with a ton of personal property in it
and get that price that you want.
No, you can't.
Again, this is just an examples of how these off-market properties come to you and your team and how they get out there to the listeners.
That's right. So in some cases for the sellers, it's great. In other cases for the sellers, maybe it's best to go to the MLS, right? So there's two different sides of the coin.
Which is why half of your deals are MLS deals and half of them are off-market deals.
As we've talked through this, we've literally shown you how and why it's 50%. Yes. Because there are scenarios that work for different people in different ways. I had another guy saying, I don't trust the off-market thing. Okay. No problem, man. Half my people do, and half my people go to the MLS.
And again, just to reiterate the stat that kind of blows me away when you really think about it, 1% of the houses are listed on the MLS. 99% of the houses in Memphis are not listed on the MLS today. So that's just a lot of opportunity on that off market pool.
I think, and we 2
maybe
to
it's
3
more.
more
Maybe
percent.
it's double, triple, quadruple.
I bet it is. And now that we think about it, if there's only 3,300 listed on the MLS, I bet there's another 10,000 off-market properties that would be available if you could get in front of them or whatever. So think about that pool. If you're,
Correct.
there's an entirely large, triple probably the pool size of options off market if we get in front of them, which we have sources and leads that do, versus the MLS.
Correct.
So if you're there going, man, the MLS is my main source, and maybe I'll look at an off market. Maybe you reconsider.
Maybe you just broaden your pool. So
If you're a
come through
wholesaler-
Dean and go through that way. Go ahead.
If you're a wholesaler listening to this,
Thank you for listening.
And thank you for listening, and you need to sell to these other end. I dispo for wholesalers all day long. That's what we're talking about. My experience comes from.
Yes.
Dean at CrestCore.com. If you got anything to sell, you need me to dispo it for you. There's thousands of people listening, or watching.
Tens of thousands.
Yeah, it's crazy what the podcast has gone to. We were talking about it before we started, but we're so happy. Thank you for everybody listening to. By the way, I mean we certainly appreciate that. Anything else on off market versus MLS?
This is it.
Guys, thank you for listening. Dean at CrestCore.com. We'll see you next time.